How's that now? Is that better or still not quite enough?
It's getting
That's
close.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
In person, I talk really loud. How's that now? Is that getting better?
Yeah, that's
Do you
pretty
want
close.
minus 18 or what do
Well,
you want?
anywhere from negative 21 to
There you
negative
go.
18. You
Yeah,
see that
there
kind
you
of
go.
spike as I talk
Yeah,
louder?
yeah. But is it you or me? That's good. That'll be good. Let's leave it like that and give it a try. Okay,
Right.
here we go again. Test number 2.
Yeah, check number 2.
Okay, we seem okay.
It's
Let's
not
give
bad.
it a try.
This is what we get for
Being
setting
cheap.
setting the entire thing up and then going, wait a second, why don't we
Yeah.
just record one mic?
Let's just change everything.
Yeah, that works out well, doesn't it?
Always.
So we'll see how this goes. If the volumes are all off or if there's weird noises.
Yeah, we'll just switch back.
What are you doing now?
I was just going to try to lean back a bit.
Welcome, make your adjustments then.
Okay, just put my, just a minute.
Yeah. What do you need me to move this?
No, put my console down.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just a bit easier for me.
All right. How's this?
We can only record for 48 hours and 9 more minutes.
Only 48 hours. You think we
Yeah.
can cover everything in that time?
Barely.
Got a lot to say. You think so? This is episode 6 now. We've done 6 of
Okay,
these.
yeah,
You think we would have figured this out by now?
not a chance.
No.
We're never in the same town.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of those rare in-person recordings.
There you go.
And of course, like I say, every time we got to do this, we come up with a brand new way to do it. We can't just learn
Not
from our
at all.
mistakes.
Yeah, that's it.
No. So one microphone, 2 people. We'll see how this goes. It might be a mess, but whatever. That's what you get for a couple amateurs.
Such is life.
Yep. So we're back in person finally. I'm back in Chilliwack. I spent the last 7 days on the road again with my girlfriend driving across the country. Who would have thought it? But Canada is really, really big and it takes a while to get across.
It's a long haul, but at least you came where it's going to be warm. At least it was last week, and hopefully by next weekend it'll be back again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, of course, it was nice yesterday day I got in, but now it's raining. What do you call it again? Golden sunshine, something like that, or liquid sunshine?
Liquid sunshine, yeah. And remember what follows 2 days of rain in British Columbia?
What's that?
Monday. So it's Saturday and it's raining.
Yeah, so Sunday we get rain, and then we get Monday.
Monday it should be warm and sunny again.
Okay, I'm holding you accountable to that then.
Okay.
All right. People are getting tired of listening to us, so
Yeah.
let's dive right in. So I want to talk about something that you did a couple weeks ago. I want to talk about you went fishing. So once again, you're getting into the aquatic sports. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. Considering my recent or my past actions with water, we never give up, right? So the opportunity came up for me to go sturgeon fishing, which is amazing for a guy in a chair, but another guy in a wheelchair, Rick Hansen, is a huge fisherman and he's involved in the sturgeon conservation here in British Columbia on the Fraser, and I got the invitation to head out with him on his boat. Now he's got a pretty neat fishing boat, and he works with the BC Sport Fishing group here on the west coast, and the boat has a huge winch, and the winch is necessary for sturgeon fishing because you bring the fish to the boat and you don't haul them in with the line. You actually put them in a type of stretcher and lift the fish out of the water, and that way you can measure it, make sure it's tagged, and then set it free again. So Rick has had the winch modified. A sturgeon might weigh 200 or 300 pounds if you get a massive one, but he had it modified so he can lift 1,000 pounds, and that means someone like me in my wheelchair. Believe it or not, when I'm in my wheelchair, I'm 600 pounds and plus, and the wheelchair is at least 400 of it, so it's not just me, mostly battery, but the winch can actually winch me into the boat, and there's room for 2 wheelchairs. So Rick and I went off. Isabel came with us, my wife, Dan's mom, and she came for the experience. And a very good friend of ours named Marion Mishgill, who also has a spinal cord injury. Marion went to school with us, and when he was parachuting with the German army, his parachute didn't open properly, and he was injured. So Marion can still walk. He has a lot of leg issues, but he can walk, even though he's spinal cord. Rick Hansen, as you know, is a paraplegic, and he's lost the use of his legs. And I was a quadriplegic on board, and I've lost the use of essentially everything. So 3 spinal cord injuries, 3 different levels of injury, and 3 different outcomes. But we all got on the boat. It was a great time. We had one other person join us. You might recognize the name, Chris Hadfield. The astronaut Chris, yes. Chris and Marion and I all went to school together. So between everybody and Rick, we all sort of knew each other, and we had a great day. We actually caught 3 fish. It was really good. Believe it or not, Rick has a sip and puff fishing rod. So I can actually do some of the fishing, and that was a lot of fun. So they would have to set the line in the water, and when the fish hit, I have a long tube, a straw, that I put in my mouth, and by blowing or puffing, I can make the rod reel in. So I actually managed to reel in the first fish of the day, which was actually really exciting for me, and I think everybody else. And we brought it into the sling beside the boat, raised it up. I had the smallest fish. It was only 3 feet or 91 centimeters long, and we figure it was about 10 years old. So we tagged it, and they have quite a system to tag it. It actually is a little microscopic tag that goes under the sort of the skull of the fish. It's more like plating, like a dinosaur. These sturgeon go back 65 million years, so it still is an ancient reptile. And then they measure the fish and they release it. And then very soon after, Chris caught a fish on his line, and almost immediately after that, Marion got the largest fish of the day, over 160 centimeters, so pushing 5.5 feet tall, or long, as I should say. They figure that fish was 40 to 50 years old and had never been tagged before. And so that was pretty exciting. And so we really had a great day. The weather cooperated, which was wonderful. It had rained the day before. It was a beautiful, calm day, cloudy but calm, no wind. And we spent a great day out on the water. And we arrived back in the harbor, and they winched Rick and myself out of the boat, and we said our goodbyes. And we got in the car, and within 5 minutes the rain started. So our timing was perfect. And I've probably talked too long, but it was a great day. It was just one of those wonderful events that happens in your life sometimes. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Isabel did too.
Yeah, so you just took 20 minutes of podcasting questions that I was going to draw out and
have
a nice long conversation, and you just condensed it down for me.
Well, no, it's just, it was very good. And I'm just trying to say I've had these opportunities come up, and gee, I wish they happened before I was injured, but they were still a great time, even though I am injured. And a lot of people made this possible. I mean, Rick does have the boat, and he's a huge fisherman, and I did make the invite list, which is really cool. And his assistant really worked hard to make sure we all had the right fishing licenses, etc., to make it work. So it was a great time.
Well, I'm really happy to hear about all that. I do have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Despite the ones you've knocked off for me.
Yeah.
But so first, let's talk a little bit about the company you said. So we've already hit on all the big names. So did you get this invite, you think, because you're working with Rick Hansen as part of the foundation as an ambassador? Is that why this was all put together in the first place?
Yeah, I think it has two reasons. I've actually become a bit of a friend with Rick. We do talk from time to time on the phone, and I have done a lot of presentations for his foundation, and that's been pretty rewarding, and we can talk about that. And then Chris, I know, again, I call him a very good acquaintance and a friend, not a big friend, like I'm not on his Christmas card list or anything, but. When they were talking, I think it came up that there was room for three more people, and I think between them they realized the connection with me. They do know they have the connection with me, and they decided to invite me, and then I invited Isabel, and we talked about inviting Marion, who's another spinal cord. So yeah, it really sort of worked out well that it was through the Rick Hansen Foundation and then my relationship with Chris that we jumped up to the list. So it was really good. And I'm really hoping to go again later this summer. It was really a lot of fun. And Tony from BC Sport Fishing, just an excellent guide and really made it all work and worthwhile.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, I couldn't believe the photos when they came out on Facebook there, and just the Rick and the boys out fishing and having a good time.
Yeah.
But so the other thing I want to talk about is this winch and this process of getting you in the boat. So you mentioned that Rick had it specially modified to hold up to 1,000 pounds. Now, is he just being overconfident about his fishing abilities, or was this intentional?
No, he's not overconfident. I think I'm the second full quad on the boat, and I know he's taken other wheelchair guys back and forth. So he's had a frame built that will hook onto wheelchairs. The frame comes in from above and it hooks onto your tie down points on your wheelchair. We have big strong points that will tie us down in a car if we're traveling somewhere, or they need to tie down the wheelchair somewhere when we're not in it. For instance, in the hold of an airplane. The wheelchairs are heavy, and if they start moving around, it's a big issue. So we have these big tie down points that 4 chains come down that hook to the wheelchair on a frame that's above you, and then it's onto the winch and off we go.
Yeah, so this is quite the process, and there's a video of this that we'll put in the show notes. But this is despite you making again sound like a standard everyday operation as you tend to do with these things. This looked a little bit hodgepodge, and to be frank, it looked terrifying. Like, it seems like it could have gone wrong at any minute. Did you have any thoughts? Did you be fully confident? Oh yeah, this is perfectly reasonable, or did you ever think this is a little bit strange? But let's get in this boat.
Well, I was pretty confident it was going to work, but before we started all this, I told Isabel to undo my seatbelt, because if things went wrong and I ended up in the water, I guaranteed my wheelchair is going to sink. And my hope was I would float away from the wheelchair, and at least they'd have a chance to save me. Now, the chances of going in the water were virtually zero, because we are tied up to the dock. The boat is snug against the dock. There isn't a chance I would ever fall between the boat and the dock into the water. So it was sort of a non-issue, but that was my one worry. I guess another worry would be one of the chains breaking and I'd fall sideways. I didn't really feel that would be an issue. And no, so I wasn't worried. We had to adjust a few times to make sure I was level once I was airborne between the dock and the boat. And that took a little bit of toing and froing, but we did get it and it worked really well.
Yeah, and again, like, you watch the video, and you're going to see it here if you watch the video that we have in the show notes. But like you say, there's some finicking back and forth to get the balance right. But then once you were airborne, you do look relatively stable. Nonetheless, though, I could feel I was like holding my breath until you're back on the dock or safely off the boat. And I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to go over it again. Like, this is, no matter how secure you make it, no matter how sure you're all going to work and all the precautions, it's a risky thing. It's riskier than not going fishing, that's for sure. So why do you take these risks? Why do you elect to be hoisted into the air on a crane and onto a small fishing vessel and brought out into the ocean doing like it's a great activity. Don't get me wrong; it sounds like it was amazing, but it's risky at the end of the day. Why do you take these risks?
Well, I'll want to go back to the very beginning when I was first injured, and I they put me in the wheelchair the very first time in intensive care back at Vancouver General. So this is probably the first or second week of April of 2016, right after I was injured, and they put this sling under me and hooked me to this winch in the ceiling, lifted me out of bed and put me in a wheelchair. And all I could think of is, I'm sure glad this is temporary. Well, I missed that by a day or two. And here I am. And I use it at least twice a day, once to get out of bed, once to get back into bed. So I'm used to be slung around, for lack of a better word. They use a sling on me all the time. So putting me in a sling and hoisting me onto a boat, well, it's just another day flying around. And am I fearful of it? I can't say that I really am anymore. I have to trust the systems that they've been all tested and checked and it will work. I mean, I did aviation, climbed into airplanes and trusted that everybody did their job and it was all going to work, and it did 100% of the time. So I'd rather get in the sling or the winch and put me on the boat and off we go. I'm not going to sit around and watch the world go by. That fear doesn't really cross my mind. I think between an astronaut, a pilot, and a couple of spinal cord injuries, we would have a good idea on how to make things work. And again, Tony, the guide, was really good as well. And that really all came together.
That's good to hear. And like I said, I think I knew that answer already. You're not the kind of person over the past 2 years who's shied away from risks. You've always been, let's go and do something. Let's go and get out rather than sitting at home in the chair. So I understand. I was just, like I said, I was holding my breath the entire time you're in the air, because no matter how safe it is, you always have those, at least I have those fears that something's going to go catastrophically wrong. And the fact that you kind of face them, and like I said, you have that. I would think you'd have that fear more than anyone now, because you drowned once. Wouldn't you? I can't believe you go anywhere near water. Like, I know you say it's you want to get out and do it, and that's just part of it. But I would think that I would be even more afraid of water. So the fact that you were being craned onto a small fishing vessel to go out into the ocean, I think, is incredible.
Yeah, it's if it was a real windy, gusty, wavy day, I might have shied away from it. I have this aversion to waves right now, if you know what I mean. And but it was a beautiful, calm day. Well, it was a cloudy but calm day, so that fear was not there. And like I said, I drowned once. When we got on the boat, it was really quite something. They got on the boat and they did make sure my seatbelt was undone, and I wore an inflatable life jacket. So it's the kind of life jacket that if it gets wet, it automatically inflates. That way it's not bulky and in the way while we're having our fun on the water. But if I did end up in the water, I was disconnected from my wheelchair. The life vest would inflate right away, bring me to the surface, and then it would be up to the other guys to save me. Now, that's only the chances of me going in the water were virtually zero unless there was a catastrophic failure on the boat. And what would that mean? Well, we'd have to be cruising along and hit a submerged log that put a huge hole in the boat, and it sank very quickly. There's always that chance, but it's so small. That's not something I refuse to worry about it. How about that? I'd rather get on with life and not worry about the minutia. Otherwise, I'd never get in a car again.
Yeah, fair enough. If you worry about all things that could go wrong, you'll never go anywhere.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I also want to talk again briefly about the sip and puff reel you had going on. So you mentioned you were actually able to do your own reeling, and other than the cast, you were able to do pretty much everything else in the fishing. And I imagine this to be pretty important, because otherwise you're just going on a boat watching people fish. So how important is it to have these kind of technologies, modifications as it were, to be able to enable you to do these everyday activities otherwise you wouldn't be able to participate in?
Yeah, that's a good point, and it is nice to be part of the group doing that. And as many of you know, we went paddle boarding last summer, and it was a big event, and it was awfully nice to be part of the group and out on the water and looking out and watching, and not being on the shore watching everybody having a good time. So being part of the fishing was really sort of fun to be there, and everybody cheering for me and I cheered for them when we got a fish. And yeah, that part was really good. It was really neat that Rick and his group have this set up. And it's not just for me because there are other quads that have been out as well. And so that's been really fun, yeah.
Good. I'm really happy that it all worked out. It sounds like it was an incredible day. There's some incredible photos. I'll be sure to link some of these below if people haven't seen them already on the Facebook page. So I'm really happy that worked out. It's just an interesting event that I wanted to talk about. But unless you have any other points to bring up about that, we can move into our second topic.
No, I think we'll put the information for Tony and BC Sport Fishing on the website as well. And incredible guide, and he does more than just taking people in wheelchairs out. I think he's actually very, very busy. He has several boats, he was saying. And yeah, great guy, great company to go with.
Awesome. So we'll put those links in the show notes as well. And so the other thing I want to talk about today is about a post that you put up a week or two ago, and I think it's really important, so I want to just expand on it here. You talked in the Facebook post about talking about the bad stuff and how not everything in life is the good greatness that you see on Facebook. That Facebook and other social media sites are kind of this propagation of, my life is awesome and look at all the awesome things I'm doing, and you get to see awesome things such as quadrupeds going sturgeon fishing with Chris Hadfield and Rick Hansen. But you don't often see the day-to-day tough days, the things that really put you down in the gutter. And people don't see that, but it's a reality of life. Everyone has tough days. And so you wrote a Facebook post a little bit about this and sharing some of the tough days you've had lately. So I just want to expand on that a little bit. So what was perhaps the final straw, the thing that said, you know what, I need to share this and people need to know that sometimes I have bad days as well?
Yeah, we went a couple of weeks without posting anything, and our life is going on, but we're struggling through a bit of a difficult time, and people think, oh, they're too busy, they've forgotten or whatever. But a lot of times when people don't post on Facebook or whatever, it's not because they're busy. I feel it's because they're going through a darker time or a less than ideal time, and I just wanted people to know that it's not all wine and roses. A lot of our days are more tough than I'd care to admit. For me, sleep is paramount, and it probably is for everybody. We forget how important sleep is, and we feel we don't want to miss anything. And electronics are a terrible sleep deprivation system where you can spend your time in bed staring at a screen instead of, closing your eyes and staring at your eyelids, which is probably much better. So I was very short on sleep, and that causes all kinds of difficulties for me. And sadly, it causes huge difficulties for Isabel as well, because if I don't sleep, she doesn't sleep either. So that was a very tough time. And then my bowels were acting up now. My toiletry is quite a bit different than the average person, and I won't go into details, but I do use medicine to control my bowels, etc. And forever adjusting, trying to find the right level, and things got out of control both directions, too much and not enough, and that caused a lot of issues too. So we don't talk about our troubles, and men especially. Just a shout out to say, guys, if you have an issue, it's better you talk about it. Don't Clint Eastwood it through your life. You don't have to be the toughest guy in the block. We can all be human. So I just put it out there to let people know that we're still here. We're having a tough role for a bit here, but we're getting through. And thanks for all your support. I think it's important we talk about these things.
Yeah, I think that's all really good point. I think, like you said, it's easy to interpret when people are not posting to social media that they're off having that wonderful life that they've been sharing on social media up until then, and that the reason they're not posting is they're too busy having too much fun, and that their life is amazing. But perhaps it's, like you said, a little bit of the opposite, where they're having a bit of a downtime, and that for whatever reason in their life they're having difficulties. And so I don't know. I thought it was a really good post that you did because it really brought attention to, like, hey, not everything is sunshine and roses, as you mentioned, and that people have tough goes. So you've talked a little bit about the problems that you've had that can lead to a tough time. In this case, the most recent case of a couple weeks. What gets you through those days or weeks where you're having a really tough time? What keeps you moving forward onto the next day and hoping that's going to be better or moving towards that positive outcome?
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer to that. I do have some friends I talk to and bring it up, and I try to do that. Again, adjust my medicines, my meds to get everything working right, and that takes time, and that's frustrating and for everybody, including me. And again, I try to talk to a few people and bring it up and share, and I think that really helps. Again, I have a few close friends who are high on my contact list when I'm struggling.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to what we talked about in the last episode about just talking to friends and making a point of reaching out and just calling people and talking to them and having conversations, and also going back to just a few minutes ago when you're telling all the men in the world that it's okay to talk about your problems and to have those friends you can rely upon. So it's good to know that you have that contact list to reach out, but I mean, it could also be shown from the other side, where if you have somebody you haven't heard about on social media for the past little bit, maybe you should call them and just say, hey, how's it going, and just have a chat. And maybe everything's fine and they just haven't been on Facebook for a couple weeks, but maybe they want to talk to somebody and they just don't know who it is to talk to.
It is difficult, and again, people do have trouble reaching out and trying to figure out what the next step is, and reach out and touch someone, as the old commercial used to say. And sometimes call and just, how you doing, and they might just say fine, and I've been busy, and that's fine. They might be hiding, they might not be, but just by having that contact, I think really makes a difference for everybody involved, and not on social media.
Yeah, to have that personal connection outside of Facebook and everything. Yeah, I thought that was really good, and I thought it was an important point to hit upon, so I just wanted to talk about it for a few minutes. Other than that, those are all the topics I got. Do you have anything you want to bring up before we wrap it up?
Do we want to tell our big announcement? Is that is that a good point now, or do we want to wait?
Well, it's up to you. We can mention it now if you want. I do want to do like a full episode on it.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to wait till after the award ceremony, or do you want to bring it up?
No, we'll talk after the award ceremony. But if you go to our Facebook page, Jim Ryan Rolling Through Life, you can get all caught up and all the excitement that's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
All right, so there's a little teaser for you. There's a big event going on in Jim's life, and it's a really big, significant event. So we're really happy about it. We're gonna have a full episode talking about it. If you want to get an idea of what the topic is, just go to our Facebook page. You can find Jim Ryan Rolling Through Life. It's pretty obvious what the big event is, and we're going to be talking about it in the next episode. So we'll have the full details then. Other than that, you can also follow us on YouTube at Jim Ryan RTL is on YouTube. That's our new channel name. We're going to hopefully be making some more videos as I'm back on the West Coast, a little bit more accessible, have a bit more time in my hands to do some video editing and recording. So hopefully we'll have more of those coming. Of course, we have the website, myquadriplegic.life, where you can check out all the stories and all the events we have going on there. And finally, a new social media we're going to plug today is Twitter. So how many Twitter followers do you have?
I'm up to 11 followers. I'm a real popular guy so far. Not as many as Donald Trump, but I'm doing my best. That's just a joke. Yeah, Jim Ryan RTL. So RTL is rolling through life. So Jim Ryan RTL on Twitter. And I'll try to put a bit more, I'm still learning that. And it's a bit hard to do when you don't have hands and opposable thumbs. But we'll keep working at it.
All right, so let's work on those followers. Jim's got 11, but they include Rick Hansen and Chris Hadfield. So
Yeah.
I think that beats most people. So Jim's on Twitter at Jim Ryan RTL for Rolling Through Life. I'm on Twitter at Piloteerman if you choose to follow me. My life's not that exciting. I don't get to go fishing with Rick Hansen and Chris Hadfield, but that's where I'm at if you want to find me. Other than that, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate all your support, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again soon.